Coming up in part 2, we go exploring the ancient temples of Thebes, now known as modern-day Luxor. Ancient Thebes, now known as Luxor, is home to Egypt's largest temple, Karnak. Connecting the two main temples of Luxor and Karnak is the Sphinx Avenue, over 4 kilometers long. Hundreds of sphinxes line the avenue, and underneath the chin of the sphinx is Ramses II. Karnak's construction was started at the end of the Old Kingdom and was extended by every pharaoh, but mostly the 19th dynasty, the family of Ramses II. This side chapel was built by Ramses' father, Seti I, and was dedicated to Amun-Ra. On the walls we see the ceremonial boat carrying the statue of the creator god Amun, which will connect him from Karnak to Luxor.
So beloved is that, and then of, and then so Seti, beloved of Ptah.
This wall actually lists Ramses' family line from his grandfather Ramses I, Seti I, all the way to Seti II. This defaced sphinx was originally Tutankhamun. Almost every single image of Tutankhamun's family was erased due to the religious belief of King Tut's father, Akhenaten. Arguably the most famous name from Egypt's history is King Tut, and luckily there are still a few depictions of him. Many pharaohs had statues' names changed, including Pharaoh Pedagen. He had this statue of Ramses II altered to his own name. However, unfortunately for him, he left the name of Nefertari, Ramses' wife, at his knee, and that is how we know who this statue actually depicts. Karnak was dedicated to Amun-Ra, and the Egyptians believed in their religion that he was their creator.
This is one of the most beautiful statues here of Tutankhamun and Amun. Of course it says Ramses the Great. At the bottom you can see his cartouches, both the name and the coronation name, Sumatra, September, Ramses, beloved of Amun. So it is yet another statue that has been commandeered by Ramses the Great.
They believed that Amun created himself and then his wife Mut. Following that, they had their son Hans, and then he created the earth over the next 7 days. The temples were known as the home of the gods, and Amun was said to live inside Karnak. The colonnaded hall, started by Seti I and finished by Ramses II, is still known as the world's largest ancient religious site.
What we're seeing here is these cartouches on the columns, and it's very interesting because this is not first condition, they've been changed. You can see Amun used to be here. You can actually see the outline of his crown and everything with Ma'at, but someone has come along, they've hacked out Ra, they've chiseled out Ra, and they've changed Amun to Heka, which is ruler. So this is ruler of Ma'at, which is justice. So Heka Ma'at something, it's gone here, we don't know. But this is very interesting. On either side of the columns here, there's a change that took place. What changes that? We don't know.
Egypt had many invasions after the 19th dynasty, which saw mass devastation up until the Coptic times. This statue of Seti II still stands headless.
We're approaching the obelisks, twin obelisks of a father and a daughter. So the first obelisk belongs to Thutmose I, and it is part of the hair. The second lot of obelisks, Hatshepsut, there's only one standing. The other one is lying down further along.
In the 18th dynasty, when her husband died, her stepson was far too young to take the throne, and Queen Hatshepsut made herself into a pharaoh. She is still known as one of Egypt's strongest rulers. However, when her stepson Thutmose III became king, he destroyed many of her monuments.
As you can see, it shows Amun blessing Hatshepsut as king. So she's sovereign now of Egypt. And you can see that it is perfectly preserved. Until recently, there was actually a sound very much like a gong sound throughout this obelisk. That doesn't occur anymore. So that's the fallen obelisk right there.
King Tut's father, Akhenaten, also had a hand in destroying many of Egypt's monuments that bear the name of Amun, as he believed in only one god, Aten. The inner sanctuary of Karnak held a golden statue of Amun, and only the high priest and the pharaoh were allowed to enter to worship the god. In 332 BC, after entering this sanctuary, Alexander the Great sought out the oracle, where he was proclaimed to be the son of Amun and crowned pharaoh. This temple extension, beautifully preserved, was built by one of Egypt's most prolific warriors, Thutmosis III.
Stepson of Hatshepsut, the great queen pharaoh, and his temple in Karnak still has an enormous amount of colour on it. It was actually appropriated by the Christians, and there has been a lot of defacement. However, it's still a wonderful place in which to come.
If you look close enough, you can even see the remnants of paintings made by the Coptics of Christian saints. The pillars of the Thutmosis temple at Karnak are designed very differently. They were made to look like the tents which he would take when he was out at battle. Karnak was extended by many pharaohs, but here, underneath the column, we can see one of the original foundation stones laid down in the Old Kingdom.
The carving on the wall is so beautiful, so pretty. The pharaoh sitting on the throne, you see how beautiful he is, how big he is. And then beneath him, we have something very special. We have actually two flowers, lotus flower and papyrus. And both of them represent Upper and Lower Egypt in ancient time. So when they put them together, it means that the pharaoh himself, by the help of the god, controlling Upper and Lower Egypt.
This scarab statue for Tut's grandfather Amenhotep III is meant to bring good luck for visitors who walk around it. In my opinion, the best time to visit Luxor Temple is in the evening, when you can feel the magic at its full force. Lining each entrance to Luxor Temple are the enormous statues of none other than Ramses II. And gazing upon these statues, you can see why he's known as Ramses the Great.
At Luxor Temple, they have newly erected this statue of Ramses II. For a very long time he didn't have a body, but now he's been erected on his body and his head is here with his other statues looking out at the visitors, welcoming everybody to Egypt. And Ramses really does welcome everyone into his temple.
Once this rubble is repaired, the final statue of Ramses will be placed at the entrance once again. Now, unlike Karnak Temple, Luxor was dedicated not to religious roles, but was in part dedicated to worshipping the role of the pharaoh. Once a year, a grand festival would take place, where the pharaoh would walk with the statue of Amun and connect with the temple of Luxor. This event would have the entire population of Thebes lining the avenue of the Sphinxes to have a glimpse at this amazing occasion. Ramses had over 100 wives, but the love of his life, Nefertari, is here at Luxor, standing by his knee, helping him rule the country.
Hi Curtis.
Hi.
How are you enjoying Karnak?
I'm loving it.
At night.
I can't speak because I'm literally looking at the most beautiful statue ever, Ramses and Nefertari.
At the back of these statues we can see Sesat and Thoth writing down Ramses' legacy. Over the years, Luxor Temple played host to many religions, including the Christians who built a church here. We even have a depiction of Jesus on the walls. There is also a mosque that was made here, built from the same stone used to make Luxor Temple. Whomever possessed these temples truly was all-powerful.
my God, Luxor Temple at night is so beautiful. This is the most beautiful place. You must come see this.
In part 3, we go to the west bank of Luxor to see the temple of Queen Hatshepsut. We also explore deep into the tombs of the Valley of the Kings.